From bats rigged with bombs to cyborg moths and bionic sharks, plus a weapon that makes people puke. Here are 10 of the creepiest pieces of military technology. Number 10. Bat bombs. It was December of 1941 when a dentist from Pennsylvania, Lytle S. Adams, went on vacation at the Carlsbad Caverns. The caverns are home to somewhere around 1 million bats. Adams wasn't particularly fond of bats, but he was impressed by the potential he saw in them. When the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor and America went to war, Adams sent the White House a letter detailing his plan to demolish entire Japanese cities using bats. That's right, Adams wanted to use bats to carry tiny incendiary bombs. The whole idea was that bats would carry bombs to all the small nook and crannies throughout cities and blow them apart. This would create thousands of fires simultaneously over a much larger area than what a single bombing campaign could accomplish. Adams' plan was helped by the fact that he knew Eleanor Roosevelt personally. He managed to get an audience, even though his idea was a little weird, and it was actually picked up by the National Research Defense Committee. It was at this point that Donald Griffin, a bat expert, got involved. Everyone was very enthusiastic about the project. Within just a little while, bat bombs became a United States government research project. They decided to use Mexican free-tailed bats. However, the whole thing turned into a failure. Tests began in December of 1943. Over $2 million was spent, and the project was canceled. There was an accident in which the bombs went off and lit a hangar and a general's car on fire. Besides that, the bat bomb idea didn't really work. They seemed like a great idea for a military technology, but they couldn't actually set fires all over cities. Most of them actually just fell to the ground and died after being dropped from a plane. Number 9. The STARGATE Project. Project STARGATE was a very creepy mission undertaken by the CIA to try and develop psychic abilities and to use those psychic abilities as weapons of war. The truth of the project came to light when the CIA recently dumped 12 million documents onto the internet for the public to see. The organization has planned to harness supernatural powers in a way that has never been done before. They wanted to use psychic abilities to spy on their enemies. In their released documents, the CIA described psychoenergies as a special mental process in which a person would be able to perceive and change the characteristics of something or a person in space or time. In other words, they would be able to do things like look forward into another place using their mind, or to sneak into somebody's head, or telekinesis to move an object without touching it. In other words, the CIA wanted to make a platoon of creepy X-Men. Unfortunately, the project didn't work. Even though the CIA wanted to make a bunch of magic men, they simply couldn't figure out how. This makes sense considering telekinesis isn't a real thing, but amazingly, the project lasted from between 1978 and 1995. The CIA eventually conceded that they had gained no useful information and that it was basically a giant waste of time. Of course, they could just be saying that when in fact they really did create a league of super people and just don't want us to know about them. Number 8. The DAYA reactor. The DAYA reactor is a strange piece of technology. It's actually a neutrino experiment designed to make a very precise measurement of a very important neutrino, which it did about 10 years ago. Neutrinos are pretty hard to study, and the reactor was built for that sole purpose. Within just the first 55 days of operation, the discovery of the measurement was announced in March of 2012. The reactor itself was installed underground in a complex facility filled with large particle detectors immersed inside pools of water in China. The experiment was done with the help of US and Chinese scientists, with many of the scientists based out of the Institute of High Energy Physics in Beijing. But how does the reactor work? It uses detectors to pick up light signals inside liquids, with the signals being generated by interactions between antineutrinos oozing out of 6 reactors. Antineutrinos are weird, able to pass through most matter without being interrupted, and they're almost impossible to detect. By detecting and measuring antineutrinos, scientists should be able to figure out a little more about how our universe was made. It comes down to matter and antimatter, though it's yet to be seen how the ability to measure antineutrinos could have an effect on military technology. Perhaps we'll be able to make bigger, even scarier bombs. Number 7. Cyborg moths. There is only one thing creepier than ordinary moths: cyborg moths. Inside a laboratory at North Carolina State University, researchers have managed to make the very first cybernetic moths that could be used in the coming years as living drones. These things are known as biobots, and they are the first step to creating a cyborg army of moths. They could be used to map ecosystems. They can help in search and rescue missions. or they can operate covertly as spies in enemy territory. The possibilities with a moth drone army are limitless. But how do scientists hack an animal? The truth is that animals have a lot of electric parts inside of them, even you and me. Our brains send electrical signals to our muscles. It's how we control our bodies. The same is said for bugs, like these cyborg moths. So, scientists are figuring out how to control these electric impulses in the brain of bugs to bend them to their will. It's been going on for a while too. A team of researchers at MIT even successfully steered a moth like a remote control car by using electrical impulses back in 2012. This time, they managed to rewire the bug so that they could control the flapping of its wings. They had to insert an electrode inside the insect's body while it was still in the cocoon. As the bug developed, its natural tissue fused to the implants, creating a very literal cyborg that the scientists can control. The technology is not perfected yet, but when it is, you can bet covert bug operatives will be buzzing through your neighborhood, maybe even watching you while you sleep. Number 6. The puke light. Flashlight that can induce vomiting is one of the creepiest non-lethal weapons available right now. A company in California has developed this flashlight, an LED-based technology that blares bright pulses of light that can make a person puke. It's such an interesting piece of technology that the Department of Homeland Security is funding the research. But how does the puke light work? It gives off a focused series of random pulses. Before the human eye is able to focus on a single frequency, another frequency interrupts it. This causes what is known as intracranial pressure, which has the ability to induce nausea, headaches, disorientation, visual impairment, immediate irritability, and of course, vomiting. Who's the weapon designed for? Law enforcement. Police and Border Patrol agents will likely be given the puke flashlight because it works to render an opponent incapacitated and temporarily blind. It's a lot easier to subdue a suspect when they're blind and barfing. Do you think the puke light will be a useful tool for law enforcement? Let us know in the comments below. And if you're liking this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe button if you haven't already. Number 5. Crowd controlling stink bombs. What's worse than a flashlight that makes you puke? What about a grenade that stinks so bad you can faint? There's a stink bomb on steroids called the skunk. The device has been used in Israel, but is now on its way to the US. According to Fox News, the Israeli police and Israel Defense Forces began using these stink bombs several years ago. They were deployed by the military to help suppress hostile behavior without hurting the target. The odor released from the skunk bomb is so overwhelming that it drives everyone in the area away, and it keeps them away. The best time to use this giant stink bomb is during a riot or some kind of insurgency. It's as if 1,000 skunks all sprayed at the exact same time, making anyone within smelling distance sick to their stomach. The stench had been described as a disgusting combination of rotten meat, unwashed socks, and the sewer. Gross. Reuters even described the stench as a piece of rotting corpse from a sewer being put in a blender, then the blended liquid being sprayed right in your face. To make things worse, the disgusting stench sticks to you like glue. The only way to get it off is by a secret removal soap, which obviously the public does not have access to. The only way to really deal with it is to just wear the stink until it wears off. Number 4. Mustard gas. Mustard gas is without a doubt the creepiest and most terrifying technology ever employed during wartime. Mustard gas is also known as sulfur mustard, a chemical agent which causes devastating burning of a person's skin and eyes, as well as their respiratory tract. This toxic gas can be absorbed into the body by inhalation or ingestion, or even if it just breezes past your face. It was used for the first time in World War I, with both sides seeing how horrendously efficient it was in incapacitating its victims. Mustard gas is mostly colorless, though sometimes it has a faint yellow tint to it, which is how it got its name. Those who have been unfortunate enough to experience mustard gas have described it as smelling like garlic and sulfur. What happens when a person comes in contact with mustard gas? Seeing as it's a blister agent, it causes redness and itching almost immediately, and a person will break out in blisters, then leak yellow pus. You can go blind, you can stop breathing, your nose will probably run, and because it affects the digestive tract, you will also experience horrible abdominal pain, a high fever, and of course, diarrhea and vomiting. And if you needed another reason mustard gas is so awful, is that sometimes symptoms don't show up for up to 24 hours. It's not lethal either, and so those who have become the victims of a mustard gas attack will survive, but be horribly disfigured by chemical burns and probably blind for the rest of their lives. Mustard gas was banned by the United Nations in 1993. though there have been reports, according to Live Science, that similar chemical agents are still being used in the Middle East. Number 3. Operation Midnight Climax. Operation Midnight Climax was part of MK-Ultra, the top-secret project by the CIA to try and turn the hallucinogen LSD into a weapon. MK-Ultra itself lasted from between 1953 and 1973. However, Operation Midnight Climax was a submission with some seriously creepy undertones. According to History.com, operatives working on research for the project actually employed prostitutes to help lure completely innocent men to safe houses operated by the CIA. Once the prostitute had the John secured at the research site, he would be dosed with LSD. That's not all. There would be a two-way mirror in the room so that the CIA agents could watch what happens to the man as the LSD kicked in. Considering the men were with prostitutes, you can pretty much guess what the agents had to watch. There were also recording devices installed in the rooms, disguised as ordinary electrical outlets. The creepy experiments took place mostly in San Francisco and New York City. With almost no oversight for the program, the CIA agents were allowed to do basically whatever they wanted. But in the end, LSD couldn't really be weaponized, and all the agents accomplished was being perverts. Number 2. Flying robots. Robots are taking over. At least, that's what Russia says. According to them, soldiers will be replaced by robots on the battlefield, and it's only a matter of time. Vitaly Davidov recently said that living fighters are going to gradually be replaced by faster and more accurate robots. And this guy knows what he's talking about. He's the deputy director of the Advanced Research Foundation in Russia. Apparently, Russia already has a roadmap to how military robotics will come into play, but nobody knows exactly what these robots will look like. Are we dealing with a Terminator-type situation? That's yet to be seen. So far, robots are mostly smart drones, automated guns, and of course, cybernetic moths. But the chances of creepy, humanoid robots leading the charge into the next war are actually pretty good. Does that freak you out? And number 1. Bionic Machine Shark. There is a creepy bionic machine shark that was recently unveiled at a military technology show in China. This thing is absolutely horrifying. It's a life-size shark, completely mechanical, designed for surveillance and reconnaissance missions. It was displayed in the China National Convention Center in Beijing, swimming around in a shark tank. It's a literal metal monster. And the newest one is a long series of drones, disguised as animals that China has used to spy on its own citizens. This is the same country that back in 2018 unleashed a flock of spying bird drones over the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, home to the large Muslim population that has been in the news a lot lately. Many people suspected China was using their flock of spying birds to keep tabs on the locals. But what do they plan to do with their bionic shark? It can apparently move at high speeds, it can carry large loads, and it can monitor, track, and search. The shark can't actually eat anybody. It's no danger to swimmers at the beach. However, it is kind of unnerving to think that there are robotic sharks out there spying on people. I mean, what's next? Robotic whales? Killer robot dolphins? Schools of cyborg fish that can take down fishing boats? We can't say for sure. All we know is that in the next 20 years, the oceans could be the battleground for cybernetic animals. Thanks for watching. What do you think about fighting robot sharks? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and come back for more awesome videos. See you next time.